I wanted to start off by just acknowledging where I am. So I'm on Jaja Wurrung country, and I've been very privileged to live here for the past 3 years and study here. And I've really come to love this place. And yeah, first impressions of this area was very dry compared to where I grew up, but I've learned to love it and see the little things. And I just want to pay my respects to all the Jara elders in the past and also in the present, and the really exciting future, as there's a lot of people emerging and so many people to learn from, which is really, really amazing, especially here in Bendigo.
Yeah. Can I just carry on with that acknowledgement as well? It's beautiful to hear you speaking like so authentically, because sometimes, you hear it's sort of this like people reading this thing that it's not coming from here.
Yeah, totally.
I'm really trying to be part of the inspiration to shift that, just that awareness raising, I guess. And I'm just feeling, especially at this time in the planet, like so held in these hills. Like I'm living between the Anganuk over there, and I've got Tarangau over that way, and then over this way is Laugambuk and Karuchian, and these are beautiful landscape that I'm sitting within and roaming, and it's been roamed for thousands of years and lived on with care. And let's hope, like you say, in the future is that stepping up and stepping forward into a more caring time.
Cool. So whereabouts did you grow up? Have you always lived in this place?
No, I grew up in Wurundjeri country, down by the Birrang Ma, and I spent a lot of time sitting up a tree in my little family's yard, with my dog or on my bike, and I think it was that connection with the dog and the tree that was really shaping my childhood. I didn't have, my mother wasn't well and my father was away or working. And so, they were really, the tree and the dog were really holding me.
Did you always have an interest in like painting and art making and storytelling, or did that develop later on?
I was always drawing, and I was probably writing bits and pieces when I started sort of exploring the world and traveling like we could in those days. I traveled a lot. I've got Hungarian in my blood and maybe a bit of gypsy in there, perhaps. It's got that, like, I traveled for many years, and I always did journals, and the journals were always a mixture of words and pictures. So I've always been doing it as an adult, but even as a kid I was always drawing, but then the words came more as I grew older.
How has your relationship with the bush changed since the pandemic started?
Yeah, so I've been living here for I think 11 years now, on Jara country, and it's just been a gradual like deepening into my roots to here, and becoming part of this place. And often in the winter or different times of year, I would maybe go north where it's warm, or just go somewhere. And this has been a really actually fantastic to just get to know this place a lot better, the seasons more, and the hills more. So I walk a lot, and every time I go out the gate in the morning, I'm like, right, I could go over that way where Mimandukok grandmother tree is and roam in that direction, or I could go up into Kalimna National Park. I could go up behind me, and I've got names for things like Rainbow Rock, and go up along that ridge, and then up, I call the monk the Unk, and go up around the Ankh. I just like I'm really getting to know these hills, and the like today I went treasure hunting for orchids, and I mean I've been doing that every year, but it's just more like it's all more now, and I feel like I'm not seeing that many people, and I feel like I'm amongst my community, in amongst all the frogs and birds and trees, and it's can get a bit crowded at sunrise. Yeah, I mean I like to talk with the wherever I am. I might look like a mad thing if people saw me, but actually I have a mentor, a senior Walpri elder, Wanta Jumpa Jimpa, and being out with him, it was so beautiful, like seeing how he just talked to the hills and the trees and let them know he was there and what was going on. And I've been already doing that, but I'm more doing it since then, just in a more like conscious way. And like if I'm making string, like today I had to actually my pants, the belt broke, and it's like, oh no, I can't get my pants up. I'll just go and get a bit of flax and make some string while I'm walking. And so then I talk to the flax and just say, is it okay? I'm just needing to take a little bit of you.
Yeah.
I kind of ask. And yeah, so I think Miri in the story, she's talking to the mountain and the frogs. And yeah, I do all that.
How have you noticed your relationship with these beings change when you've started talking to them?
Well, I don't feel lonely. I definitely, as soon as I go outside, there's no way I feel lonely. And yeah, I feel I'm in good company, I guess I could put it that way.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a really cool way of looking at things. Like I just shared with you earlier how like my first impression of this country up here was that it was very dry. Like I was born in Lutruwita or Tasmania, and it's very lush down there. And I think coming up here, I was like, oh, this bush, it's so like the trees,
Yeah.
a lot of these trees around Bendigo are like young trees, and it's upside down country, and it's very, very different to what I'm used to. And I was just wondering if you had any similar experiences of your first impressions.
Yeah, so I used to come up here to visit friends, and drink the waters, the mineral waters.
Yeah. Yep.
And walk on the dry country. And yeah, it took a while to really sink in that the seasonal thing. I think it takes anyone a few years really, at least a couple of years to start getting that rhythm. And then that the moss might look big dry and crunchy, and you think it's just nothing. But then as the years go by, you're like, that it's going to become, the resurrection moss that comes alive again. And then, spring's coming. And of course, it's not the 4-season spring thing. It's definitely, early spring and later spring. And I am starting to know the rhythm of what is coming next. And I'm like, okay, I know that the blue ones will come, after the yellow ones, or, like this. And there's a real comfort in that, in knowing that there's this rhythm, and that you're in this rhythm in your walking and your heartbeat and your breath. You're just part of the rhythm of life, really. I like to sing. Sometimes when I'm walking, I just found myself singing, and I think those, the Chuff families you go past, and they're going to know you as well. Like I know them, but they know me. And so you're part of that, where when you first come, you're just someone new. And
yeah. And in your book, and I've heard in like other interviews, you talking about how you've wrestled with the name of the goldfields, and I'd love for you to share why.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, like you mentioned, this place is known as upside down country. And, you know, it's been so badly disturbed around here. Wherever certain places you go, there's like the big pits where the gold mines are, shafts are, and then there's the slag heaps and all that. So when people talk about the gold fields and they're sort of celebrating the gold rush, I actually find that really disturbing, because it's also about that thing of human greed, I guess. And it didn't used to be like that before the invaders, or whatever you choose to call them, came along. And so the more I lived here, you know, I get to know the different wattles and the yellow robin and the little navel fungi, the yellow navel fungi, and all sorts like this. And the golden whistler, of course. And you know, there's the New Holland honey eater. That was the one that really did it for me. It's like, New Holland, really? You want to call this beautiful bird after something in Holland? So it makes it sound like chip, 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 chip. So I call it the golden chip, chip. Yeah. And so I just seeing so much gold in this landscape. It's like, well, these are the gold fields and the golden light. So I'm happy to call it the golden fields, but not after a gold rush. I see that that we have knowledge of the actual, I call them the actual names, that Aboriginal names from around here, with Dja Dja Wurrung names, or wherever the place is. I feel like it's really super important and respectful to use them. And there's been a revival in that, and that's fantastic. And in my books, I really try to like just instill a bit of that in there and comment on that within the stories. It's so important. And the other thing that I've done in my books is what I do in my life is, like I said, I name this certain spot Rainbow Rock. There's different places. And then when I'm meeting friends, I'll say, oh, let's go up to Haven. We've got a place called Haven where there's a fire, natural spot to have a fire and a campsite. And like, let's go up to Haven or Gathering Place or Grandma Tree. And so they're places named from the heart, not after an explorer. And they're not ones that have to be everyone's name. They're just for the people that know that and use them together. So they've got stories in them. Like my son and I had a tree we called the boomerang tree because he got a boomerang stuck up in it. So we've ever since known it as the boomerang tree, you know.
Yeah.
So, and I'm really careful not to use names if I don't have to that I find insulting. Yeah. Like when people ask me, where do I live? And they're like, yeah, but which town is it? And I'm like, well, I don't know if I want to say that word because I'll get a bit rude. You know, the languages of this country are very much place-based, and so it's nice to revive and return that. It's really important to take your time and respectfully inquire. And these days there's much more, like if you go to a visitor centre, there's much more information than there used to be, like even just a few years ago. So yeah, I think, I don't know what happens for me. I just seem to run into like it's serendipity. I don't know. Lots of times I'd run into the elders of the region and find myself in these situations. But yeah, I think just having a respectful and not a pushy and fast approach is the way to go. Yeah. And a lot of people working in sort of cultural education are really stretched because everyone wants something out of them these days. Yeah. And so, you just want to be really mindful with that.
Yeah. What does caring for country mean for you personally? Like, what do you do in your daily life and in your practice?
Yeah, so because I work full time and tend to my garden and, you know, domestics of life, I don't have a lot of time to be out there doing what these beautiful land care groups and people who are working in that world are doing. And so to me, that is like real frontline caring for country, what they're doing in that hands-on way. For me personally, my walking with country on a pretty much daily basis, and in a sort of tender way, you know, often listening or singing as I go, or stopping and looking and marveling, and then bringing that into my work to, as I said, inspire others to love where they are. I think that's probably my way of caring for country.